For the last segment, I have Lucinda Martinez. Lucinda is the SVP of Multicultural Marketing at HBO, and that's across all platforms at HBO. She is also responsible for HBO Latino, and she was here last year at the inaugural Latino Reel event, so we welcome her back.
Thank you. Hello. Thank
you. And to her right is Axel Caballero, the Executive Director of NALIP, the National Association for Latino Independent Producers, and which is a very important organization. Has done a terrific job of identifying and incubating Latino artists. So why don't we start?
Hand for NALIP.
Yeah, and for NALIP, a hand for NALIP. So let me start with Lucinda. You know, as much as I love to brag about the work of the foundation, the true spot at Time Warner Inc., where there was really a lot of attention placed on diverse artists, was really HBO. I mean, this is something that has been very much a part of the DNA of HBO from the very beginning, not just in terms of what you see on the screen every day at HBO and the intent to find diverse storytellers, but really the work they do to support artists. And I want Lucinda to talk a little bit about that, because she's been leading those efforts for a long time and I think has really raised it to the next level. So you want to talk a little bit about the importance of that for HBO?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, diversity has always been the underlying sort of foundation for HBO, if you really think about it, because we're a premium channel. We're interested in telling stories that are done in a unique way, in an authentic way, and told in a way and in a format and in a quality that you don't see anywhere else, and because you're paying extra for it. And by definition, over the years, that has netted out some really amazing, diverse stories. In addition to that, as Lisa mentioned, we are still the only Spanish language premium channel with HBO Latino. And it's been now a year since we launched Cinemax, accent on the A, which is Cinemax Latino. And as quiet as it's kept, HBO Latino, 40% of that content is original. And we have series from Latin America. We have movies that we bring internationally, that are Spanish-speaking movies. But over the years, we have also dabbled in making sure that if this is a U.S. Latino channel, that we start to reflect the U.S. Latino stories. And recently, we acquired short series of William Caballero's Grandpa Knows Best. We've worked with Helen del Valle. Over the years, we have sponsored for over, we founded and supported throughout its entire run the New York International Latino Film Festival, and through that discovered many Latino talent that are around today, and fostered in what we like to say, developed the next generation of Latino voices. And me on the business side, my commitment and my passion for this audience as a Latina has been unwavering. And I'm on the marketing side. My job is marketing. My job is to amplify messages, but if I don't have the programming, I have nothing to talk about. So through NALIP, New York International Latino Film Festival, Miami International Film Festival, over the years these have been the places where we have looked for artists and for talent to support for the service.
Axel Caballero has been leading NALIP now for two years, a little over 2 years. And so NALIP, HBO and Time Warner have both been longtime supporters of NALIP. But my recollection and my impression certainly is that in the beginning, I think NALIP started as a little bit more of an advocacy group for greater representation of Latinos in Hollywood. And I love what you've slowly evolved the organization into in the past 2 years. So do you want to talk a little bit about what I think is a sort of new and invigorated and much more fresh look at how best to increase the representation of Latinos in Hollywood?
Sure, definitely. So I'm just, first of all, thank you so much for having me here, and to Ross for putting this together. This amazing event is not easy, and dealing with us, the long-standing organizations, also is not easy. And this is a great event. And all the NALIPsters in the house, a big round of applause to all the work that you've been doing all through these years. Certainly I'm here representing our creators. That's my biggest role and my biggest job. And in the past, part of that job was creating an organization that opened opportunities, but those opportunities needed to be opened with a loud voice. The loud voice was needed because, they weren't listening, and those opportunities weren't being created. There wasn't an incentive, there wasn't opportunities based on a business sense or an opportunity based on just common sense. The media landscape has changed, and Nalip had to change with that media landscape. One of the things that I've heard in this panel were a couple of times about not saying that you're a Latino actor or you're a Latino director. And it's a shame, really, that we got to that point. I would argue that we should be proud of being Latino actors and Latino directors and Latino producers and Latino filmmakers and make that a center point of our creation today, because that is where the media is going. That's the future. We are a strong percentage of this country that are consuming and producing high quality content. To that effect, the program that we created with the amazing support from Time Warner Foundation was to change the attitude from an advocacy component to really showcasing the talent component, to developing individuals, because we know that the talent is there. We've seen it across the board in TV, in documentary, in digital, and in film. And we just needed to tap into it and to create and open those opportunities. And how we do this opportunities is by showcasing and showing not only independent media, but mainstream media, that the talent is not only there, but is ready. And that we are giving them a platform to get them ready. And so that transformation has allowed us to work with our members to keep a better track of our members and their projects and incubate that component through Latino Lens, which Latino Lens is a variety of verticals with different outlets, but it centers around Latino Lens and short narrative film. Over the last 2 years in particular, since we discussed first this incubator and this inception, we've gone through 250 submissions, of which we've worked with over 150 artists from the Nalip family and outside of it. We've interviewed directly one by one about 100 of them. We've met with each one of them. We've invited them to the summit. We've read all the scripts. We've worked with them on the scripts. We've seen budgets. We've gone through evaluation processes. And finally, we get to this point through a year of hard work and intense work to announce the 4 finalists that will get their short films produced. And the importance of that is that one of the things that we identified that was missing and lacking even from our own aspect of it is that we would train, but then we would let them go. And the training is only the first part. The funding is really what we need. The opportunity to place this product once it's funded is the second component, and that's what we're working on. So in a bit, I'm going to show a very short video, about a minute long, very, very short, that is going to actually announce the finalists of Latino Lens Short Narrative Incubator.
Are they here?
One of them is here, I know, but I'll let that. I know that one of them is here, and I'll give a
in a little bit.
In a little bit, and
Okay.
and I know that afterwards.
You can't keep a secret.
I'm sorry.
And I know that afterwards, and Vanessa Eraso's here, who's done amazing work with Remezcla, and definitely has put a lot of spotlight to all of our creators, so thank you, Vanessa. And she will definitely have a post on this so that you can read each individual project if it happens too fast. So we're just going to go ahead and play the video.
So along with the tremendous growth in terms of the power of Latino audiences in terms of consuming media. I mean, we know the power of Latino audiences in opening weekend box office, in making hit shows. There's also been a tremendous proliferation of distribution channels. I mean, not to give a kudo to a competitor, but Mozart in the Jungle, which has a lead Latino actor in Gael Garcia Bernal, who's it's on Amazon. Orange is the New Black probably has one of the sort of biggest Latino casts. It's not a Latino show per se, but it's certainly a show that gives a lot of stories.
Finding Escobar on Netflix.
Right. Exactly. You have a lead Latino in probably what will be HBO's next big show with Vinyl.
Yes.
So do you want to talk a little bit about even just the proliferation of opportunities within even just HBO for you to be able to distribute and pick up content?
Yeah, we have all the platforms. We have HBO Now, we have Go, We have HBO Latino channel where we are now airing some of the best concerts. I mean, we had Romeo Santos, we had Yandel, we are about to air Alejandro Sanz, we are going to be airing Maná. So we have exclusive Latino concerts, and that's a deal that we struck for the past few years. And we were the first ones to air Carlos Santana's first Spanish language album, which is fascinating because he's a reverse, right? He's a Latino that started in mainstream English and then finally did his entire album in Spanish well into his career. So that's really exciting. So it's not just, we have some of the best boxers, Latino boxers that show up on our network. We have films, movies, shorts. We have series in Spanish. Vinyl is going to be airing, and yes, it stars Bobby Cannavale. He plays a white music exec, and in one of the most powerful roles I have ever seen. And I'm not saying it because I work there, but Vinyl is one of the best pilots I have ever seen in a long, long time. It's Martin Scorsese at his best. He shot it 2 hours. The premiere is going to be like a movie. It is a movie. It feels like a movie, and you don't want to stop watching it. But it's set in New York City in the 70s, where rock and roll was born, and we spent a lot of money making New York look dirty again. And it looks really dirty. So that's a great series. We have Ballers that stars many Latino actors in Ballers, and that's a hit that's coming back. We have series from Brazil that are premiering on HBO Latino. So in terms of a slate, we have a lot of programming that super serves the audience. I mean, it's no secret. We know about box offices. We know that you can't have an opening weekend. 7 out of 10 tickets that are sold come from people of color. So you cannot make an opening weekend without people of color. So we vote every day when we buy a ticket. And so when we're having that dialogue about what's happening with the Oscars or what happens with content, support the content where you see yourself. Yeah. And don't support the content that you don't feel is there's no better voting than that.
And I think with the Oscars, I think that I was reading something about the Oscars being racist, but I think there's two very different things. And one is racism, as if 6,000 members conspired and all decided to be racist at the same time, which I don't think happened. And the other is a lack of inclusion, which is probably what happened there. And with the lack of inclusion comes lack of opportunities, comes lack of decision making, comes lack of funding. And without that funding, we can't get the folks that the talent is there. There's not for the lack of talent. So people being pissed off is because we know that the talent is there that's doing the work and that it's not being recognized.
They just issued just today we got an alert. So they are revamping that whole thing, so that's about to change.
And I do believe the tide is turning, and this is why it's so important to support artists the way you are. Look, we need a Latina Shonda Rhimes. What changed network television was an incredibly talented woman who was given an opportunity and had great stories to tell. She is the most powerful person in television, in my opinion, today. We need to see that happen within our community. We need to see, Lee Daniels, who created Empire. I mean, so I believe confidently that will come. I think it's a matter of supporting those artists who are coming up along the way to ensure that they have the opportunity to tell those stories. So, but with that said, drum roll. Do you want to? I mean, we're sort of sitting here with bated breath. You want to tell us who you're?
No,
okay.
Those were the finalists.
Those were the finalists.
So the 4 of them will receive funding.
All of them will. Okay.
Production, and distribution.
And do you want to?
And then
here's the drum roll.
The drum roll is Business Affairs said not to say conclusively to approve something that's sight unseen, but I will say,
assuming it's not porno,
assuming nothing crazy happens, we will air it on HBO Latino.
If the price is right.
So let me
don't start negotiating against yourself.
On that happy note, any questions from the audience? Any questions? No? Oh, there's one.
How important is the digital space for this the revolution?
It's a really good question. The question was, how important is the digital space?
for.
Well, and that's, by the way, Rodrigo Gonzalez. He's with Me Too Network. Me Too Networks is doing amazing work with Latino creators as well. And we're actually in partnership also with Me Too Networks on a content incubator for the digital space. I'm going to talk about, the transformation as far as Nalip in the digital realm. And we've expanded. We've almost doubled our membership because of the digital space. And it was a space that was lacking kind of union and representation and funding and opportunities, and they were doing it by themselves, but they didn't know what the next step could be. They knew how to do it, they know it better than us how to do it online, but they don't know what the opportunities could come out of that. And I think that we're slowly connecting and networking with those opportunities that you just heard today about the short films that are making it into an NBC pilot. We've heard a couple of times. We met with SNL folks already 2 weeks ago, and they said that they're going to be looking, forget UBC, forget all the other places, that they're going to start looking more closely at the internet, and at digital and YouTube and Vimeo and all the different Vine at Snapchat and all the different content creation platforms online. I think that's going to be very, very much crucial for the growth of Latino talent, because that's really where a lot of our creators are doing.
And you have.
In fact, we have, if you guys are familiar with Issa Rae, Diary of an Awkward Black Girl. We picked that up, and it will be a series on HBO. That's coming. I can't announce. That's a web series. Started as a web series, and is now being developed into a full comedy series.
So I think there are great opportunities digitally. I think we all. Thank you for the question. Anyone else? Great. All right. Well, with that, I think, is the bar open?
I was going to say.
All right, so let me hand this back to
Ahora
Ross
se debe.
Romero. Thank you. I do want to, just a final comment, which is on behalf of Time Warner, and I know Juan probably feels the same way at PBS and the Sundance folks. I really want to thank Ross Romero for his leadership and for his vision and for really creating a space for Latinos here at Sundance. So thank you, Ross.